Welcome back. It's a new week and a new episode, if that's what you want to call it, of this series. Today is. Why don't I ever look at the dates before I do this? I think it's the 4th of March. Yep, it's March 4th. And today, just like every other day, we're going to talk about some FOs, some whips, and some other things. So I'm going to start with addressing what I'm wearing. I am wearing my Wreath Slipover by Knitway. This was my very first test knit. I'll insert a photo as well to show like the full frame of what it looks like. The pattern is out now, so that is why I chose to wear it today, just to kind of celebrate that. I shared it on my last video, but it wasn't quite released yet, so I wanted to do another shout out to this knit pattern now that it is officially available for people to pick up. I knit it with homespun line brand yarn, and I'm really pleased with the final result. It is a little different than what the pattern photo looks like, but I tested an earlier version, so hopefully the new published version is a little more accurate. It has a little higher neckline than this one, and all that good stuff. But overall, I really like this outfit. I think it's very comfortable. I like that I can layer it on a long sleeve shirt because then I'm not super warm. There's lots of movement that I have when I wear it. Super comfy. So that is the Wreath. I also wanted to address my background because as much as I love it and I am a fall vibes all year long, I'm thinking that now that we're in March, my next video will probably look a little different. This is the Autumn Rhapsody blanket that has been in every single podcast video so far, and I love it. It's my favorite thing, and I have it up on my couch pretty much. I don't know, I'm sure I put it up in September, and here we are in March, and I still have it because I refuse to accept any other season. No, but it's just my favorite season, and I like to have it out even though it doesn't match at all with what is currently happening outside my window. We had lots of snow. It's finally melting, and it has been sunny, and the sky is currently clear. So I think next episode I will break out my spring Rhapsody blanket and have that on display until August or September again. Both of these blankets are Stitch Sampler blankets by Nana's Crafty Home, and I highly recommend them if you're looking for something quick and fun to work on while playing with stitches. I love both of them. They're super fun. I know I modified this one. I think it's both wider and longer a little bit, but it's based off of the lap can size, and then I just made some modifications so that it could be a size to fit along the foot of our guest bed. So that. Now, moving into FOs, I only have one this week, but that doesn't make it any less adorable. I'm pretty sure I had started it on the last video. I did, I remember. So this is the Dragon Fruit Dragon by Skein Spider, and in all of his beautiful derpy glory, he is done, and I love him. I added a couple of spots just because I thought I had his body parts pinned and getting ready to sew, and I just tucked some extras on his face so I could grab them off if I need them, or when I was done I could stick them somewhere. And I thought the spots looked really cute, so I decided that I would embroider some. So his belly, his little dragon fruit belly. I'm so happy that I had these colors in my stash because I think the green I wanted to be pickier on, but I wanted this to be a stash project too, so I had the perfect shade of pink. Like, I could not have asked for a better pink. I wanted to do the pink version of the dragon fruit dragon, and this is perfect. The green is very bright. I think it's a little brighter on camera than it is in person. So overall, I think it's still a pretty good match. I wish it was a little more yellow, more of a yellow green, but it's still pretty yellow green, so I'm pretty pleased with this. So that is my FO. He is an amigurumi that I've had on my list, I don't know, probably 6 months, and I kept putting him off, and I said no more, no more. He was gonna come to life. So that is that. If you want to see more photos, I have it on my Ravelry page, but because I can fit him in the frame here, I'm not going to insert photos here because you can see him. So that is my FO. I just used, I think all of it was probably Red Heart. It feels like it. I was using skeins that I had left over, so I didn't have any tags, of course. They were just balls in my stash, but it feels like Red Heart, and that's often what I end up using for amigurumi, so I would think that's a pretty safe bet. I did add safety eyes. I think they weren't quite the same size as what the pattern calls for, but they aren't big eyes either, so I think they're pretty close. Close enough that I was like, yep, that's good. His nostrils look a little crooked, so let's ignore that. Now I can't unsee it, I'm sorry. Okay, we're gonna put that down now. So, FO. Now we're gonna move into whips. So I, of course, will start with, oh, just out of my reach, my Jimmy Bean's craft vent that I have been working with my mom on for, I guess it's been about 2 months now. On Saturdays we'll usually get together on Zoom for, I don't know, an hour or two and just, you know, knit what we feel like. And so because we're on the really long lace section, this section has been in the video for the last several weeks, or several times I mean, but I promise you it's getting longer. In fact, I think we only have 2 or 4 rows left of this section before we start this little ribbing section between this color and the next color. So we're making progress, that's for sure. I haven't updated my Ravelry yet. I should one of these days with the names of the colors, but it came in the 2020 craft vent. We're doing the knitting one, and this is the Tidings to You pattern by Amy Gunderson. And I am doing the, pretty sure it's called Cinnamon Sugar colorway, and my mom is working up the Northern Lights colorway. So mine has lots of warm tones, and hers is like blues and pinks and cooler tones. So, it's beautiful. I love it. It's one of my favorite parts of the week is working on it with her. So definitely been enjoying this, and we're just, you know, doing it at our own pace, and it's been nice to not have to feel like I'm rushing through it. I'll bring in my second Advent project now, which is my, oh, I did not set this down very nicely. Oh, because I'm in the middle of a row. Shoot. So, this is my Harry Potter Hogwarts Year 4, oh good grief, Year 4 Advent calendar that is a collaboration between Dragon Horde Designs and Yarn Cafe Creations. It was a yarn advent for 2020, and I decided that I was going to use the Advent to create the Adventurer Wrap by Amba O'Brien. This is a 25-day Advent and yarn Advent, and then the pattern also calls for 25 colors. It does not use all of them, but it does use quite a bit. And it is getting very long. It's probably about 4 feet long right now, I would say. So I'm going to attempt to not lose my stitches. Did not plan that out well for today. And show you at the same time. I do have all of the colors listed in Ravelry, which I'll have a link for down below. But again, they're Advent colors, so I'm pretty sure they don't create those colors outside of the Advent. So, but if you're curious about the names, they're all there. So that's the beginning. I just love this chevron look and the way all the colors work together. I said this last time, but I'll say it again too. I do wish there was more contrast between these two colors. I am working these up in the order that they were in the Advent. But other than that, I've been very pleased with how they've all worked together so far. It works up super quick. In fact, last video, I didn't even get to the end yet. Last video, I was just starting this section. This was Avada Kedavra. That's what this was. So I was just like 2 rows in above the stripe. So and even then I was actually working on other stuff since the last video. So I've done all of this in 2 weeks. I think it's been 2 weeks since I last filmed. Which I know that sounds like a long time. I don't know. I still think it works up quick. I just kind of work on it in the evenings. Sometimes during Zoom meetings for work, I'll be working on it. And yeah, has that lovely ribbing down the middle and the chevrons, and it works on a slant. So I'm not just holding it crooked. This is the rectangle, pretty even, and the chevron there, like the stripes are on a diagonal. I of course have to block this when it's done. I need to get some more blocking boards because what I have right now is not going to be enough. I am on color, I think I just started color 22, so I'm very close to the end. But each color probably adds about 2 inches, I'd say. Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet, just eyeballing it. 2.5 inches. So I still have, if I am on 22, I still have 23 and 24, and then I think 25 is only a couple of rows, but I might elongate it a little bit to make it even with the rest of it. And then that's all I'm using on color 25. I'll use the remainder for something else. So that is my other Advent project. I'm almost done. It is one of my Make 9 projects for 2021. So I will be able to have that one crossed off on my list once I finish it. And that will bring me up to 2 finished Make 9 projects for 2021. So not only am I doing that Advent project, if you've been around for the last, I don't know, 4 episodes probably, I think I've been talking about it every episode, all of my remaining scraps from my Advent wrap are going into my Sock Scraps Granny Stripe Blanket by Layla McCullough. And again, I have that information on Ravelry. So I'm just, as soon as I'm done with them on my wrap, I am taking what's left and adding it to the sock scrap blanket. And it is just about too large to fit in the frame, but we're still in there, so I'm going to continue holding it up until we get to that point. So yeah, I'm always 1 color behind on this than my wrap, so I have 20 colors here. but I'm just about done with color 21 there, and then I'll be able to add it onto this. And this will be, it's about 3 feet long or wide, and I'm just gonna keep adding, like I want to keep all of my Harry Potter advents from Hogwarts Year 4 in a row in that sock scrap blanket, but then I have like my Tidings to You, my Jimmy Bean craft vent, that's all fingering weight, so I will, once I'm done with that wrap, all of my extras are going to be added to the blanket. I have some leftovers from the Moana mini set that Bad Wolf Girl Knits and Sits did last year, that all of that will be added to the blanket. Let's see, there was another thing. I've been kind of trying to remember any of the minis. I don't have too many so far, but I'm trying to think of any like fingering weight scraps I have that I can set aside and just throw into this blanket so that I'm using up what I can and make something fun in the process. I have been really liking, like my wardrobe and my tastes usually go to pretty neutral colors, but I am just loving the randomness that's provided by this scrap project. And I know this is like it's an advent, so obviously there's still some kind of cohesion here, but it's good. I'm excited to keep adding to it. I think it's just gonna look beautiful once it's done. And I'll just, you know, keep throwing things on it. Ooh, that brings me to my Traveling Seasons Afghan, which is a collaboration between Lion Brand Yarn and a bunch of different designers. I think Whistle and Wool is kind of like the main collaborator for this year, but I have a video on my page that describes it a little bit more. I'll put it in the description box below, but I'm not going to spend too much time jabbering on about it when I have already jabbered on about it. But I'm participating. I am dyeing yarn for it because I want to make each row, which coordinates to each season, its own color based on a like memory or just like colors that I associated with those seasons with where I grew up. So I actually have the video that I posted on my channel talks about the yarn I dyed for spring, as well as again an overview of the project. But today I wanted to show the squares. I'm going to call them blocks because they're not exactly squares, because I have spring now finished. 2 of them, they're all blocked. 2 of them are almost all the way dry. They're still a little bit damp, but I took them off the blocking boards so I could share them today. I will say that I have been struggling to get gauge with my yarn that I'm using. It's superwash merino wool from Dyer Supplier that I hand dyed myself, and so I can't remember how the size of the yarn compares to their recommended Lion Brand Woolies, I think is the yarn that they are recommending this year, but it seemed like it was pretty close, so I felt pretty confident. But anyway, I have been changing hooks every square and just hoping for the best, which is bad. So this is January's square, which is Raindrops and Baubles, and this is the yarn I dyed. I'm really pleased with it. It's not quite, it's supposed to be a 13 by 13 inch block, and I think mine's around 11. Like it's actually a little taller than it is wide, but I am not going to worry about it too much. I am blocking all of them, and then I'll probably, I'm torn between seaming them all and like adding, because I think I'll need to add a row in the same color just to make sure all of my spring blocks are the same. And I'm trying to decide if I want to do that now while I have the spring row completed, or if I should wait until I have all 12 blocks done so that I can compare all 12 of them and see how I need to make adjustments. All of the yarn is going to be the same, but because all of those blocks are going to have different stitches that are going to affect the size, that makes me a little nervous. I've never done a project like this before, so I'm trying to keep it open to give myself a way out to make adjustments if I need to. But I also really want to seam it up and like make progress. But we'll see. I'll probably leave them, just weave in the ends and have them in a stack, because I'd rather not seam them up. And I might not even add like an extra border yet until I see what all 12 of them are doing, which is kind of a bummer, but I'm doing it to myself. So the January square, and I did alternate rows, so you can't, I don't see any noticeable color pooling. Like there's the natural variegation in the yarn because I dyed a semi-solid. Did I say variegation? I meant natural variation, sorry. Natural variation, but I alternated skeins and I think it looks pretty consistent throughout it. And then the February block, I did have to add extra rows at the top to make it long enough. Like I was using my January block the whole way through so that I could kind of gauge, and that knowing kind of what stitch, like the base stitches, like this one was single crochet with bobbles. The February one was, I think it was half double crochet with bobbles. So it was a little bit different. So I downsized a hook and then I had to add more length. But I don't think I changed the width. So here's the February square. These like little flower clusters with a stem, which is pretty cool. And I'll make sure to put somewhere on the video the designer for each square, because each one is designed by someone else. So like the first one was Whistle and Wool, because that account is the one that's kind of organizing it, and then I'll make sure to add for everyone else so that you know who did the design. But originally the pattern, this and the space up here were supposed to be pretty even, it looked like, and I had to add like 5 rows up here. But it is the same height now, even blocked as my January square, and width, so that's a good sign. And then I have March, which is this beautiful textured block. I love it, but I don't know, I tend to gravitate toward like all over texture. I don't even know how to describe it, versus like these ones have motifs in them, and then this is like the stitch pattern that's creating the texture. And I think this is my favorite square so far. It's something about a lotus stitch, and it's a pretty row repeat. It's just once you get a couple rows in, you're basically repeating the same row over and over and over again. And blocked, it gives it this really pretty lacy effect. This one, unfortunately, I noticed after blocking, even though before blocking it matched up with the other ones before blocking, and I actually thought this one would stretch the most, so I didn't do any modifications because it's a pretty loose, like I can still tug on it and stretch it out, but I just didn't block. I don't know, maybe I'll try reblocking it because I think I can get more out of it. But that is the March block, and so there they are. They all look pretty even across the 3 blocks as far as the color's concerned, so I'm pretty happy with that. And that one's probably the most damp too. I need to let those dry some more. I had 4 skeins to work 4 skeins that I dyed up, but I actually only used 2, not even 2, between all 3. I was thinking I was going to need 1 skein per block, but so far I've only needed 2 for all 3 of them. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm caught up now, so the next square doesn't release till April 1st, and that will be the first square of the summer row, which means I need to get a new color created. My last whip is something I am working up myself. My husband saw, not that he saw, because I mean, I've had it for years now and he's seen it before, but I have a little case that I just whipped up, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago to hold my hard drive that I have, where I can store all of my extra photos and videos and things for JSThreads. And he decided that he was hoping I could make him a case for one of his little handheld gaming devices and make it Pokeball themed. So I basically took my his gaming device and my hard drive were fairly similar in like width, so I took that as the base template and just kind of made some modifications so that, and I'm not done. I wanted to, I'll share, never mind, I'm gonna back that up. So it's gonna be like a square kind of, and then the flap is gonna be elongated, and then I think I'm gonna have it taper off to be kind of like a triangle, and then have a little buttonhole so that it can come down and close. Actually, I need to get going on the tapering. In fact, I might have to rip back, because here in the middle it's going to be this button that I made out of clay for the middle of the Pokeball. And so it'll latch around the button. Let's see if I can get that to... that doesn't work very well. How do I hold the button? There we go. So it'll hold his little case and be cute. I suppose I could have maybe made the button bigger. I made it 1 inch, but I didn't want it. I felt like that was a pretty standard button, so that is what I did. I'm gonna have a separate video that is kind of like a process with me voicing over making this. I'm debating on writing this up to be a free pattern that I'd post on my website. If it's something you're interested in, let me know. It's pretty straightforward, but since I'm working it up, I've been taking notes and everything. Thought it could be fun to publish and share with other people. So that is that. That takes me into my unofficial mail section, because I received this, I think it was last week now. No, it might have been this week. Maybe I got it Monday or Tuesday. This week's been a long one, and it's only Thursday, so. But I received my very first Malabrigo Knitcrate. And Malabrigo has been a kind of yarn that I didn't really know about until very recently, when the whole Rasta Rios thing started blowing up on social media. And ever since then, I have been very much in love with the look of their single ply dyed yarn. And the February Malabrigo crate, let's see, the theme was heartstrings. And this is the book that came with it, that has the patterns and everything. I'm gonna tease you and wait to show you the yarn. It came with extras for the pattern. So we have 2 purple beads that are like They're for the end, like the ends of this right here. Little drawstring ends, and then a toggle that I guess is for the crochet pattern. Oh, let's try that. There we go. I didn't want to take them out of the bag, but so there's the buttons, or the beads, sorry, and then the yarn. I couldn't not. I had to get on the wait list, and luckily I must have signed up in the right time, because I know there are people who were on the wait list that were not able to get this yarn. They ran out of stock, so they had to supplement with something else. I signed up for the Malabrigo Knitcrate for this color. I don't know what it is about these reddish pinkish tones, but it has been one of my colors that I have been obsessed with. It is showing up a little more red on the camera, I will say that. A little more saturated, a little more red. It's more of like a pink burgundy, I'd say. It's definitely not this bright. It's a more toned down, but still very, I'd still say it's a very vibrant color. I love it. I haven't decided. I thought I decided that I was going to make the crochet version of the pattern. Let me see if I can show it without giving away. Yeah, here it is. So it's called the Parisian Cowl. And I was pretty sure that I was going to end up making this because it's beautiful. But I'm running into the dilemma, which I have many times before. How many cowls could I possibly wear? How many shawls could I possibly use? But they're just so handy because they take, you know, 1 or 2 skeins, so you can play with the yarn and move on to the next thing. And I am definitely struggling with that right now. Yeah, because I want to buy and support like small indie dyers and splurge on things like this and not necessarily need like a sweater quantity. I don't know. What do you have like a go-to? And I like trying new things, so I feel like I'm just in a bad spot. Like, I don't know how to make things that I can enjoy. My camera stopped recording. I don't know how to make things without feeling like I have to, like, what do I do? I just want to keep, I love the act of knitting and crocheting, and I love working with indie yarn, and I don't have very many people I feel like I can gift things to who would truly appreciate having something handmade and made with such special yarn. But I don't want to stop. So anyway, if you have thoughts or suggestions for like maybe some go-to things that you like to make with your special yarn, let me know in the comments, because I have been struggling more and more as I find more and more dyers, and I just want to, I like sampling things. I do not usually make the same thing more than once. There are 3 patterns that come to my mind for things that I have made more than once, and all of them have been amigurumi. So there might have been like a shawl in there maybe. But I really, like, I'm always wanting to move on to the next thing, always wanting to create something different, play with something new. I'm always behind. Like, I would love to jump in on all of the new patterns that people release all the time, but then I'm like on last year's set of patterns because I still love them and I still want to make them. And I just can't keep up. So I've been struggling in my yarn / crochet / knitting journey lately. And part of me is just trying to work through that because I have lots of things that I'm working on. And I'm enjoying working on them. But there's a small part in the back of my brain that's like, what's the point? I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. So, anyway, that was a off topic, but I feel like I'm not the only one who has that issue, so I'll probably leave that in the video anyway. I don't want to let go of this yarn. It is, so it's Malabrigo Rasta. I'm so sorry, I should have said that earlier before my rant. In the color Heartstring. Super bulky, 90 yards, 150 grams. I have a feeling that I'm pretty sure this is exclusive to the Malabrigo Knitcrate, so that is also why I hopped onto that waiting list. It's a quarterly subscription, and it's not always Rasta, it's just, you know, stuff from Malabrigo, and it's usually exclusive to Knitcrate. So that is that. Before we end today, I did want to leave off with the most recent yarn I dyed. I mentioned earlier that I was going to need to dye up the summer yarn for my, let's see, make sure I get the name right, Traveling Seasons Afghan. And I actually dyed up a batch last weekend. I only did 2 skeins since I didn't even need 2 skeins for my spring row. I'm showing it here because I think I love the color and I really want the color to work, but I think I overshot. I'm still very much learning, and it's beautiful. I'll just show it. It's beautiful, but it's not quite what I was envisioning. Things I'm learning with how colors mix. You'd think, I don't know, I feel like because I have a background in mixing colors with clay that I wouldn't be struggling quite as much, but this ended up more green. It's a little more green on camera than it is in real life, but it still ended up more teal than the blue I was going for. So I think I'm gonna redye. Pretty sure. I want to make it work, but I want to get closer to the color that I was planning for. So it is beautiful. I want to find something else that I can use it with, but I don't think it's quite what I'm looking for my summer square. I want more of a sky blue, and this is more teal. So that is where I'm going to leave it today. Make sure, if you're interested in any of the projects that I talked about today, I have everything in my Ravelry, which again will be in the description. The only thing that I don't think I have up to date is my Tidings to You wrap, because I haven't updated any of the yardage. For my amigurumi, I usually don't put in yardage. But I do try to track it for my other things. Like I have the grams used for this, and I'll probably go back and convert it later on, but it's so I have notes for how many grams I'm throwing into this. Same goes for my advent wrap. My squares, I've been making notes of the hook sizes I'm using and modifications I'm making. Measurements before and after blocking, although I haven't taken after blocking measurements yet because they're finishing up. So I think everything's up to date there. I have been really, the last year, using Ravelry more and more as a tool. I've been on there for forever, and only a year ago realized the full extent of like tracking projects and things, and I'm very obsessed with that. So I try to keep those as up to date as possible. So, same, my Wraith is on there. My Pokeball thing's not on there yet. My game case. Yeah, I don't think it is. But everything else I showed today is. So, you can find that information there. Hopefully you like this video. Hopefully you're still liking this series. I'm trying to come up with more content that I can turn into videos because I've been enjoying making them. I know my traveling Afghan, I'm already going to do at least one video per yarn because I want to do like a time lapse of dyeing it, just as I'm learning more and more about dyeing yarn, experimenting with color, things like that. So that is something. The first video is on the channel already. Yeah, if you have other things that you'd like to see, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you all soon.